Here we go, another knife review by Nutnfancy. Thanks for joining me. Man, I've had a lot of requests to review this knife. This is a Columbia River Knife and Tool, or CRKT as I call it, Drifter series of knives. And it's a high value, high quality actually, everyday carry option. A lot of dudes will say, Nutn, how come you don't review more CRKT stuff? Well, I got to keep it real. You know, I always keep it real. It's probably because lots of their designs just don't crank it for me. Going to their little product insert that I got out of the box here, let's just, a real quickie. The Kiss knife, no, not a big fan of that. The Hug, Ashworth Turtle, Comer, Fulcrum, nope, not excited about that. Gallagher Badger, Kiss 2-timer. Yawn. Let's see, we got M16s, I tell. Yeah, I got one of those. I don't think I reviewed that yet. But see, they also have variations along the same theme. You know, their M16 series are all pretty much the same types of knives. I did review an M16 EDC aluminum handled version. That's a nice little knife, super lightweight, spear point blade with no belly on it. Wasn't super excited about that. So there's a lot of versions of the same type thing. You'll see a review of this one coming, the Carson M21 series. That's actually a pretty good knife. I did like that one, the Carson M4 series. I gave that one a very good review. Yeah, it's out there. I might throw it in annotation if I think about it. But, you know, some of their knives, and this is a lot of personal preference involved here, dudes. You know, you guys may really dig it. Some I just don't dig for. Like this one, the My Knife. No, I don't like the funky grind on that one. Van Hoy. Oh, there's another variation of the M21, another variation of the M16. That's aluminum. Desert Cruiser. I would be excited about that knife if it was in plain edge. A little bit more excited. I guess there's one right there. I spoke too soon. But that's a real thick Zytel handle on that. It's kind of a bulky knife. More variations along the M16 line. There's that funky recurve Tanto Triumph. Okay, you know, and I don't mean to offend guys that are into it, but there's your answer. Guys are asking, why don't you review more? It's because I'm not excited about them. Generally in the project, you'll see me review things that I like and that I want to promote because I think they got the design right, the value right, the high quality workmanship, all the things which personally attract me as a knife owner, a gun owner, tactical gear user, whatever. It's just a data point like all the time. I'm just giving you data points. But there are some CRKT designs which I totally am enamored with, and the Drifter is one of those. First off, it's a high value blade. Your cornerstore.com, and this may change in the future, but currently the store that I recommend buying from is ycs.com. Thank you, Mike. Great prices. This knife as of the taping or filming of this video, $16.20. Either version, stainless on the top, G10 on the bottom. That's a great value for an EDC blade with decent materials. And I'll tell you that these are really two different knives. They do share the same blade shape, but their handle material and their design completely different. Let's start off with the G10. We'll start off with the blade. First made out of 8CR14 MOV. We could get real specific about this blade steel. I mean, we could pull out the chart. This is off CRKT's website. And we can see here the breakdown of carbon content, chromium content, molybdenum, nickel, silicone, blah, blah, blah. Very analogous, very similar to AUS-8, which I've said in my previous reviews, which I don't have a lot of hardware with this steel. I probably won't for a while. But knowing what I know about it now, having carried that stainless one around for several weeks and using it, I think it'll be fine. And it'll hold an edge well. I think CRKT gets their heat treat right and gets a lot of things right about their blade steel. And remember the price point. Don't be so picky when you're only paying 17 bucks for a knife. If a guy says, well, what kind of steel is it? You know, is it really good steel? Is it really bad steel? You know, well, dude, you're paying $17. Okay, so yeah, I think you're going to get a super high quality foreign made steel at that price point with this particular CRKT offering. So good steel. I'm happy with it. For its intended use, its application, it'll be more than sufficient. Couple criticisms. Both of these knives out of the box, very dull. This one has not been used. It's out of the box. I'm running my thumb on the bottom of it. You should never be able to do that with a brand new knife. it should be so sharp that that would be, you know, unsafe. But the edge on these little drifters, not good. I've seen that from several CRKT knives, particularly this drifter. Some of it may be due to its, what seems to me to be a kind of abrupt edge geometry. You know, it looks like it's flat ground from this portion. I may be wrong. That might be hollow ground from the mid-spine down. But it seems kind of like a thicker blade for an EDC blade. And if we compare my standard of reference, SOG SOG Flash 1, love that. You can see it's a little bit thicker than that. That's that full flat ground Flash 1 that I love. And out of the box, that knife comes very sharp. This one's been used. I've resharpened it. Still wearing a decent edge. So not too happy. The stainless CRKT Drifter, not any better. This one I've touched up myself though. And the good news is I was able to bring to life a nice usable edge with just a minimal amount of sharpening. So that's the good news. But maybe a little bit thicker. You know, do I always prefer a full flat grind? Just depends. I don't mind this one. I think it's a good looking blade design of this drifter. Has that kind of organic recurve in the belly there. I don't think it's so abrupt that it will make sharpening difficult, and I have not found that to be the case in my own sharpening exercise with a stainless version. Pretty easy and decent. Real strong tip. You know, I don't think you're going to have any tip issues there with a knife. 2.9 inch blade overall. So that's a good size. Not too big, not too small. Very useful for EDC. Jimping on the top. Here we go with the jimping again. Always Nutnfancy talking about the jimping. Now everybody talks about it because I talk about it. But jimping is actually sharp on the G10 version. If we go to the stainless version, not too bad. The stainless version is kind of a polished, maybe satin finished blade. Anytime they do a polish job on the blade, they're probably going to do the entire blade to include the rear jimping on the spine. That may round off those sharpened edges and maybe lessen the traction with your big old thumb right there. You'll have to dig down. I do notice a difference between the two blades because of the finish jobs. This one is kind of gray titanium nitride finish, the G10 model. Sharper jimping. But very nice blade shape, good looking, like it. Nice belly, I love that belly. Remember, for an EDC blade, dudes, this is where most of your cutting is going to take place. You guys know that. And that's a critical portion of the blade, according to me at least. The lockup on these, first off, how does it deploy? Nice and fast. That G10 deploys quickly. So does a stainless steel drifter as well. Both lock up nice and tight. I had to do no adjustment, up, down, side to side. Same with a stainless steel handle. Great job on that, CRKT. Very nice, very nice. On their website, they kind of talk about this stainless version as being a logo knife. Why? Because it's got a mini billboard right here that I guess they can do their engraving or whatever they do to emblazon their your company name on the side. You'd order it in quantity. What a smart giveaway item that would be. I mean, if you could afford it as a company, I mean, and you gave away drifters to your employees with your logo on the side, I would love to get one. I think that would be cool. Instantly collectible because it's going to be a limited edition. It's going to have a company name on it. Definitely not widely available to the public. Nice job. Handles. The stainless steel version, like I said, is actually a different knife. And that's because it is a stainless steel frame lock. For guys that don't like liner locks, that don't trust them, which I think is a little bit unreasonable, especially for an EDC blade, they'll like this one. Look at that. That's a solid lockup on the tang of the knife with the frame lock milled out on the side. If we compare that to the G10 Drifter, this has very lightweight G10 scales with nested thin steel liners, and then that makes it into a liner lock, not a frame lock. Which one do I prefer? Probably after having carried them around, I like the G10 version. This is an EDC blade. This isn't one I'm going to go tackle and elk skinning with. You know, I wouldn't even classify it as an emergency defensive tool. It's really kind of too small for that. I guess you could always employ whatever knife in that realm, but not me. I like the G10. I like how light it is. This one's 2.4 ounces, the G10 Drifter, which to me is very reasonable carry weight. Yes, there's lighter by way of reference. The Flash 1, yes, I always talk about this, 1.2 ounces. If we wanted to go even more, where'd it go? There it is. Even lighter, Dragonfly by Spyderco, 1 nothing ounces. That is a wicked little blade. I love that little Dragonfly. By the way, there's that jimping modification. Just some skateboard tape on that to give that thumb ramp some traction. So this one here is actually heavier, 3.2 ounces, which I think is a little bit heavy for the size of knife. If I can get it under 2, I'm really happy. It doesn't break the bank, and having carried it for many weeks, decent. And you can sure tell the difference between the two, though, when you're carrying. If you're deciding between these two, consider the weight issue. If it's important to you, you really like to kind of forget you have your knife on you, which I do when I'm talking about the POU of EDC. I like the G10. If you are a dude that likes extra strength and you don't want to have to ever worry about your knife closing on you, the Drifter framelock stainless steel handle version might be the way to go. Generally, I don't like solid stainless steel handles. It's because it's a heavy handle material, but there are some upsides. It is strong. It can be good looking. They have a nice frosted gray finish on this Drifter. I think that's handsome, and it's very thin. So if we compare the stainless steel version to the G10 version, there's a benefit there. That might be important to you. It's going to be thinner in your pocket than the G10. Not too bad. How about the thumb stud on both of these knives? No volcano issues. When I say volcano issues, what I'm talking about, let me put this here so it'll focus. What I'm talking about is it profiled in a triangular manner, which makes deployment difficult. They've got kind of a flange on the tip of the thumb stud, both on the left and right hand side, which initially makes it seem like it's going to be an ambidextrous knife. Not so fast. I'll tell you why here in a sec. But no problems. It engages the thumb quickly. You dig your thumb fat in there, pop it out, engage or deploy it quickly. Didn't talk about the texturing on this G10. I have spent lots of airtime telling you about what my own preferences are in G10. For this blade and the EDC roll, which it will fulfill, I think this G10 is fine. It's kind of a mild pattern. It's not real aggressive. But again, for an EDC blade, no problem. When I go to a tactical blade, one that I might employ in an emergency defensive role, I want that nice and deep and aggressive whenever I can. Lanyard hole here, you can take it apart. Pillar, flow through construction. If you get some gunk in there, your hamburger, whatever you're cutting with it that day, it's definitely possible. I don't always need my pivot screw exposed on my blades. I sure do like it, and that's because if it ever does develop some wiggle, at least we have an option to cure it by judicious adjustment of the pivot screw, maybe degreasing, applying blue colored Loctite as recommended by me. Talked about this in some other vids, and the Drifter gives you that option. Here we have the exposed pivot screw. Nice. Not always needed. Some designs don't have adjustability in the pivot at all. Kind of like the excellent, if not outstanding, Spyderco Centofonte 3, heavily used by me. I've never had that knife develop any wiggle or lockup problems at all. And remember, out of the box, this knife is tight. Nothing. But you have the option. That brings us to the clip. Actually, a pretty decent clip on the Drifter series of knives. I don't have any issues with it. Nice in profile, compares favorably against maybe a competitor, like the Cold Steel Plain Edge, medium-sized Voyager. This one's wearing that Nutnfancy clip and handle modification you saw in video. So it's not really representative of the factory clip on the Cold Steel Voyager, which has issues of its own. CRKT, not too bad. A little bit wide in plan form. That's just me. The thing I don't like about it, and lefties, you're not going to like this either, is that you can't swap it for left-hand carry. As you can see on this side, not drilled, not tapped. You're stuck with the clip as it comes. CRKT, I don't know why you guys do this. Why don't you drill it just like Spyderco does on many of their varieties and make it so we can reposition that clip to any of the four corners, and also change the clip design itself so it will look good on any four corner or any one of the four corners. For instance, this is kind of shaped and designed for pivot carry. You can see the outline of the clip, so you might have to change a little bit if we've swapped it over here. A good example of that are many of the Spyderco knives. Once again, not a showstopper, especially at this price point, but it kind of sucks for the lefties, and it is tip down configuration, which I don't like, generally speaking. But keep in mind, these are minor criticisms, especially when you consider the price point of these little drifters. about $20. Actually, as of the filming of this vid, around $16. So amazing fit and finish, amazing quality of these little Columbia River knife and tool drifters at that price point. So if I don't get everything I would really like, oh well, you know, I'll live with it, and it's still an outstanding blade. I think if you get a drifter, and it depends on which one will attract you most. I talked about the strength, maybe the extra weight, which a lot of dudes will like, of the stainless steel framelock version, or the lighter weight and maybe different looks of the G10 version. But when you get it, I think you're going to be really pleased with the knife that you got for your money. Fast deploying, solid lockup, decent blade shape, a little bit organic, maybe not as sharp as it could be out of the box, no doubt, but that's easily remedied by your ceramic sharpening stone. Just a little bit of work and it'll bring that edge right out. Decent knife. Yeah, a few minor quirks to it, but overall, outstanding knife. Nutnfancy signing off. I probably forgot some specifics on this knife. As usual, if I remember them, if I get time, I'll annotate it. Thanks so much for the support. Good ratings. That's why I keep on trucking with the project. Yes, more knife reviews are coming. Signing off. Nutnfancy. Bye-bye.